Hey everyone, welcome to another Python lesson where today we're going to be going over some of the interesting functions that you can utilize for lists. So I'm going to create a variable and it's going to be called numbers, and in that variable it's going to be a list which will be the square brackets, and in that list you can have anything. So I'm going to have some integers as well as a string, and let's just print this out to show you how it comes out, and it's going to print out exactly as you typed it. Other things that you can do with it, you can specify an exact element in the list. So it starts with 0, so 0, the position 0 would be 1, 1 would be 2, and then position 2 would be the number 3. So let's randomly create a list. So I'm going to import random. I'm going to have starting point and stopping point be variables, and it's going to add a random number until the starting point is equal to the stopping point. I'm going to have an empty list, and every time we randomly create a number, we're going to add that to the numbers list. Here I have a loop where I'm going to do while the starting point is less than stopping point. So right now it's 0 is less than 10, which is true, so it will run. I'm going to have a new variable called random number, and it's going to be random.randint, and it's going to randomly select a number, and that number is going to range from 0 to 9. So every time this program runs, random_number will become a new number every time, and we're going to append that by doing numbers.append, and we're going to append that random number to the empty list, and it's going to continually append new randomly generated numbers every time this program's ran. And before breaking out, I'm going to add starting point by 1, because eventually starting point will be equal to 10, and once it's equal to 10, that program or loop is considered to be false and it won't run anymore. So as you see, when I print out the numbers, they are randomly selected numbers from 0 to 9, and every time I run this, it's going to generate a new random list of numbers. So that's one unique thing about this little list, is that it's never going to be repetitive, and that will go and be useful for some of the functions that I show you guys coming up. One thing you can do with the list is go through each element, and that's going to be used for using a for loop. So I'm going to do for number in numbers, and I'm going to print out number, and that's going to print out each individual number in the list, and each one is considered or called an element. So as you see, it prints out 7, and on a new line it prints out 6, and so on until it gets to the end of the loop. So this could be useful for when you're trying to compare one number to the next, whether you're trying to find the maximum or minimum of the list. You could compare whether that 7 would be less than or greater than 6, and then store that information, and then kind of continue until the list is complete. You can also specify and select a number particularly. So here I am going to print out what element is stored in the third element. So as you see in the list, the third element is 2, and you see 0, 1, 2, 3, the third element would be there. You can also do a semicolon, and the semicolon would allow you to start or stop at a certain point. So here I have 4 semicolon, so I'm going to start at the 4th element, and then -1 will allow you to print out the very last one, and so forth. If you do -2, it'll print out the 4 and the 2. So say we want to reverse our list, you would run the numbers in .reverse. Ran into an error here. I actually have to create a variable, or I don't have to create a variable, I have to just call it, and then I have to print out the numbers list again, because it changes the layout of the list. So I had to do that real quick. I can't just print that out. Other things are .pop, where this will remove the very last element in the list. So as you see, everything's the same except for the last element. It removes the 8. So that could be considered useful for some scenarios. Other things could be .append, and I kind of did this in the while loop, but this allows you to add a number or even a string to the end of the list. So here I am going to append 10, and as you see, the difference is that 10 is going to be included in the second line. You can also insert, which is kind of similar to append, but insert takes 2 objects. The first object will be the location in the list that you want to insert the integer or string. In this case, we'll insert an integer, or I can do a string, but the first variable will be the location, and then the second one will be what you want to insert. So I'm going to do a string, and it's going to be just titled insert here. And as you see in the third element of the second list, you see the variable of insert here, or the string, sorry. You can also remove, so I'm going to remove something from the list. I'm going to remove, let's say, all the 5s. So I'm specifying a certain element, and since this is a randomly generated list, it's very possible that 5 is not included in the list. So when you print this out, you can see that there's going to be some elements maybe missing, and here I got an error because 5s is not found in the list, and I get a value error. I can also do .clear, and that will completely remove all the elements from the list. So when I print it out, everything is just eliminated completely. I'm going to call a variable called count, and I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to do numbers, but I'm going to do .count, and I'm going to specify a certain integer, and I want to see how many times that occurs. And I'm going to print out count, and it's just going to print out an integer and tell me how many times the number 3 is occurring. And for this one, 3 occurred once, 0 times, 2 times. So that could be also useful to see if there's any duplicates or if there's any at all in that list. You can also do a copy. So I'm going to copy this list, and it's going to be stored in a different variable. So that could be useful if you don't want to change the original list, but you want to store the information to be changed and altered without affecting the initial or original list. So I'm going to show you some differences. So I'm going to just add something to the copy list, or insert, just to show you that at the very start it's going to be something like this is a copy. And if I print out the copy, print out the numbers, and then print out the numbers again, it'll show you that it doesn't affect the original list, which can be useful just to make sure that you aren't affecting anything after making changes. What else? You can do length. Length will tell us how many elements are in the list. So with the starting and stopping point being 10, we know it's going to print out the value of 10, but this could be useful if you are not aware of the length of your list. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content if you enjoy this, and I hope to see you in another video here soon. See ya!